In an era saturated with performative outrage and existential dread, where despair often feels like the only authentic response, a curious question arises. Can the unwavering sincerity of a manufactured hero, a beacon of manufactured hope, truly offer a genuine counter-narrative to our collective anxieties? Or is it perhaps the most sophisticated obfuscation of all, a comforting lie whispered in the face of an inconvenient truth? Even then, in their rawest form, you see the seeds of the immigrant story. Siegel and Schuster, two Jewish kids from Cleveland, channeling their own experiences of being outsiders, of navigating a world that often felt hostile. They literally created a god from another world, Kal-El, the ultimate refugee, sent to a new planet, stripped of his heritage, forced to forge an identity in a land that was both welcoming and wary. It's the classic American narrative, isn't it? Except this American hero is at his core an alien, and his creators, the ones imbuing him with this moral compass, were themselves grappling with their own heritage, their own sense of belonging. The very foundation of Superman, the symbol of unwavering truth and justice, is built on a narrative of displacement and cultural assimilation. It's fascinating how the film, in its sanitized perfection, brushes over this with such ease, almost as if acknowledging the refugee aspect too explicitly would complicate the manufactured ideal. To admit the immigrant struggle into the narrative of effortless goodness, that would be a different kind of power altogether, a power that might actually challenge the status quo. It's in the infrastructure, the way the city is portrayed, the segregated zones, the checkpoints, the heavily fortified borders. They've scrubbed it clean, of course, but the architecture of the vision is undeniably present in the dialogue around humanitarian aid. It's always framed as an external intervention, a benevolent act from a superior power, rather than a recognition of a shared humanity or a right. The kid holding the Superman flag. It's less about partnership, more about bestowal. The savior from afar trope, amplified. It conveniently sidesteps the indigenous narratives, the voices of those already there, wrestling with their own solutions. And when they do show the local population, it's often as either passive recipients of aid or as a monolithic, unthinking threat. There's no room for nuance, no acknowledgments of the complex political realities or the aspirations of the people living with these contested spaces. There's no room for nuance, no acknowledgement of the complex political realities or the aspirations of the people living within these contested spaces. It's a carefully constructed narrative designed to legitimize a certain kind of intervention, to present a clear-cut hero bringing order to chaos, without interrogating the very systems that created that chaos. And by extension, this film implicitly legitimizes similar interventions in our own world. By sanitizing the complexities of a hero operating in a fictional conflict zone, they're offering a template, a subtle endorsement of a particular brand of global engagement. It's the allegorical sleight of hand. They've taken the most volatile geopolitical tensions and recast them as the backdrop for a superhero spectacle, all while dressing it up in the language of hope and unity. But is this Superman, in his inherent, almost divine competence, truly a critique of that trope, or just a more sophisticated iteration of it? He arrives, he fixes, he leaves. The locals are grateful, of course, but they're never the primary drivers of their own salvation. That's the core of the paradox. The film seems to acknowledge that the problematic nature of that intervention, yet the character's entire arc is predicated on it. His power isn't earned through struggle or negotiation with existing systems. It's an intrinsic quality. This version of Superman feels like a potential disruptor of unjust power structures, and more like a reinforcement of the idea that goodness is something that must be bestowed from on high by those already possessing the inherent capacity for it. And that capacity is conveniently also white and Western. The film never interrogates the source of his power or why he, and not the people he's saving, possess it. It's presented as a natural order. It's a comforting illusion, isn't it? That the world's problems can be solved by a benevolent, all-powerful outsider who understands what's best. It absolves us to the messy, complicated work of understanding and dismantling the system that creates those problems in the first place. So the film's earnestness about wanting to do good is precisely what makes its blind spots so profound. It's a sincerity that's built on a foundation of unexamined privilege. You might ask me, isn't this just you seeing patterns where there are none? My answer to that is kryptonite, a substance that weakens him, the constant threat of a destabilizing force, a resource coveted by all, used as a weapon of mass destruction. It's too precise to be coincidence. Superman's inherent vulnerability is a metaphor for a region constantly under siege. Its resources the very reason for its torments. The invading threat in the story, the one he fights against with such ferocity, it's not just a rogue state. It's a coded representation of external powers exploiting internal weaknesses. The narrative is designed to elicit sympathy for the protector, yes, but it's also a sophisticated dissection of power dynamics, of the very real economic and political forces that fuel conflict. The savior narrative, while potent, masks a deeper commentary on intervention and unintended consequences. Superman's cape, his powers, it's all a carefully constructed allegory for the global arms race and resource wars. The hero struggle isn't just a physical one, it's ideological. He's wrestling with the very narrative the world has been fed, a narrative that demands a singular, powerful solution to the complex geopolitical problems, and in doing so, conveniently ignores the root causes, the very kryptonite of the system. The point is, the cynics, the realists, they scoff at hope. They call it naive, a weakness. They've been conditioned to expect the grim, the brutal, the morally ambiguous. And this new film, despite what we've been over, offers something different. It offers sincerity. Genuine, unadulterated sincerity. In an age where irony is currency and detachment is lauded as sophistication, showing genuine empathy, a belief in a better world, a willingness to help without the immediate calculation of personal gain. That's the most subversive act imaginable. Compare it to the tortured anti-heroes of the last decade. This isn't a retreat from the darkness. It's a deliberate, conscious decision to face it and offer an alternative. It's a refusal to be defined by cynicism. I believe this approach, although not perfect, provides hope. It's what the world needs right now. not another grim reflection of our own failings. It's precisely what we've been starving for. The earlier iterations, they played to our fears, our disillusionment. They told us that power corrupts, that heroes are flawed, that the world is inherently broken. And while there's truth in that, this is saying that even with that brokenness, there's still something worth saving, something worth fighting for with kindness. That's the real power, the power of believing and acting on that belief in the face of overwhelming doubt. That's why the soft Superman is in fact the radical one. He's not a pacifist because he's weak. He's a pacifist because he understands the true cost of conflict. He chooses the harder path, the one that requires more courage, more faith in humanity. That's the message, a message we desperately need to hear. We've become accustomed to the monolithic hero, the invincible archetype, the one who never falters, never questions their own divine purpose. It's a comforting narrative. It absolves us of our own complexities. But what if the shield begins to show hairline fractures? What if the S on his chest isn't just a symbol of might, but of immense, crushing responsibility? What if our Savior starts to talk about the weight of it all? Not in pronouncements, but in genuine human terms. As the dust settles and the immediate hype recedes, what then? Do viewers want a legend, or do they want someone who understands their fear because he too has wrestled with his own? The cultural appetite is for the infallible, a mirror to our own aspirational selves perhaps, but flawed figures who are learning as they save us, who voice their own uncertainties. They invite a different kind of engagement. They ask more of us. They demand not just admiration but empathy. Are we, as a society, prepared for that level of reciprocity with our saviors, albeit fictional? It's a risk. The narrative of uncertainty is a powerful sedative, and the narrative of doubt, is it a catalyst? That's the question I find myself unable to answer. What I can say is people need to feel heard. They need to be part of the solution, not just the recipients of salvation. That's where true resilience is. And I hope DC builds something that lasts. True heroism in fiction. Not the single spectacular act, but the persistent collective effort to create a better future, one with hope and empathy.